in this video we're making what I call the heart on heart wire wrapped crystal pendant. It has a little heart made out of wire on the front and a little circle on the back. The weaving goes all the way around the outside of the heart to hold the crystal secure in place. Just showing you the 40mm amethyst crystal heart there, and then this one here is a 25mm rose quartz heart. This design does work really well on both sizes, but I'm going to wrap this 25mm by 25mm rose quartz heart today. I am going to put the wire measurements for both of these crystal heart pendants at the end of this video, so you can go and screenshot them there. You wrap both crystal sizes the same way, obviously just with different measurements. First up, we make our little wire heart for the front. So we need about 2.5 inches of our 20 gauge dead soft silver wire. And I just start to form it into a heart. So just grab it with my round nose pliers right in the middle there to make a V shape. And then I just bend each end inwards towards the center there to start to make a heart shape. This little heart is going to fit right on the front of your little crystal there. You can see here we've got a little connection made with smaller wire, and we've also got these end pieces that come apart in the very middle of the heart there. I just work with the wire to bring the heart around in sort of a rounded shape. We want to make sure as well that these end pieces of wire come together and then come apart a little bit, so that we can secure it there with that thinner gauge of wire and that little connection can't slip off the end. You can keep checking the size on your crystal. Just make sure it's looking like a nice heart in proportion to your heart-shaped crystal. Once you're happy with your little heart there, we're going to grab some 26 gauge wire to secure the little heart in the middle there where the tails come down. We just need a little piece about 1.5 inches long of our 26 gauge wire. Now, holding your little heart, you just want to bend the wire around that center part where the two wires touch. And we're just going to wrap this wire around nice and tidy to form a nice tight connection there. We're just keeping that wire flat and wrapping it round 4 or 5 times to form a nice strong connection on the heart there. Make sure your wire's pulled really nice and tight, and then you can cut your tails off nice and short on the same side and crimp them down. Just tidy any of those wires up if needed. And then I like to put a little bit of glue onto that connection. It is optional because your connection should be secure enough without the glue, but I don't like to take any chances, so I'm just using the Hypo Cement jewellery glue and just pop a little bit onto the connection there. It really does help to keep it secure with the type of wire wrap that we're doing, sort of pulling the wires over to one side. It just makes me feel a little bit better. Now I leave that little heart to dry for a few minutes. Now we can move on to the next part of the wire wrap, which is making the bail and circle for the back. For this part here, we need about 5 inches of the 20 gauge dead soft silver wire. And we start by making our bail. So just leaving a little tail straight at the end there. Then we bring it around the round nose pliers 2 times to make 2 full loops there. Then this little tail that we left straight, we can just bring it around that other piece of wire there and crimp it down nice and tight. So you should have a nice strong bail here. You can just check your loops and make sure that you're happy with it all. And the next step is to make this little circle part for the back. Now with our little rose quartz heart, we're going to start to bend the wire and form it into a circle onto the back of the heart there. First thing I do is just bend the bail over the center of the crystal, so when you turn it on its side, it's over the center. Now that portion of the wire that's sitting on the back of the crystal there, we start to bring it over towards the right hand side. Then I like to try and use something that's circular shaped. I'm just using a lip balm here, but just anything that's about the same size as the circle that you're after. It needs to be proportionate to the heart, so you don't want it going over the edges. It needs to stay right on the back of the heart here. It also needs to be proportionate to that wire heart that you've made for the front as well. Just work with your wire until you've got a nice shape and that bail is still sitting in the middle. You want your wire meeting back up in the center there. Once you're happy with your little circle there, you can bring it around the bottom of the bail a couple of times just to secure that bail in place. Nice and tidy, and then cut the tail and crimp it in all nice and tight. You should have a nice firm little circle there with the bail that's going to sit right at the center of your heart. Once your wire wrap's done, you will be able to see the center part of your crystal and the wires sort of weaved around the outer sides of the crystal heart. Now we can move on to the weaving part of our wire wrap. For this part here, we need about 30 inches of our 26 gauge silver wire. And this is what we use to weave all around the outside of the crystal. Now we're going to attach our little wire circle and heart onto the front and back of the crystal. With our heart here, you want to make sure the little wires on that connection are sitting on the inside. You can also gently bend your heart just so it's a little rounded and fits onto the heart-shaped crystal nicely. You can place your little circle onto the crystal as well and just check all the wires, make sure it's all sitting nicely how you want it. Then we're going to use some tape to just stick those parts on while we weave around the outside of the crystal. I'm just cutting some thin pieces of tape about 1 centimetre wide. We want to place them quite strategically so that we can still wrap around the outside and sort of take them off as we work around the heart. I'm going to start my weaving around this top right side. So I don't want any tape there, but I am going to pop it on this left hand side and down towards the bottom part of the heart and on the bottom right hand side of the heart as well, just to hold that nice and secure while I weave this top part. Now we can place the wire circle and bail on the back and tape the same sections that you did on the front, leaving that side free so that you're going to be able to do your weave on the top right of the heart on the front. Now it's really important while you're weaving around that you are holding this heart and circle in place. It's probably the hardest thing about this particular wire wrap is that while you're wrapping around one side of the crystal, it's going to slowly want to pull those wired shapes over. So you do need to be conscious of that while you're wrapping and really work hard to keep them in place. Now we're going to attach our little weaving wire onto the bail there. So I just hold that tail, just the little end of it there. Then I wrap it around the bail there on top of itself a couple of times. That will lock the start of your weaving part nice and tight up near the bail there. You want to get in the habit with this wire weaving that you check the heart and the circle are still in place. Then I can start by going underneath the little circle on the back and then looping it under the circle again. So that makes one full loop. And I do that on each side. So each sort of stitch I do, whether it's on the front or the back, I still do that one full loop around. Now I'm going to bring my wire underneath the heart, pulling that wire down nice and gently so we don't get any bends in it, pulling it tight and then doing my one loop around. So just going underneath the heart again there, pulling that layer so there's no slack in the wire there, but being gentle not to pull the heart over. Making sure that that's all sitting nicely. Then we can take our wire back and go under the circle at the back. Gently pulling our wire tight-ish and then taking it under the circle again for our full loop around. It's basically just sewing, but we're doing it with the wire instead. And we're just alternating our stitches from the back around that circle to the front around the heart and just doing that full loop around on each. Making sure in between that you check the heart and the circle are still in place and that you're not pulling it over that side as you go. Now we're slowly going to work around our whole crystal heart with our stitches evenly spaced out, going from front to back, alternating and bringing that wire underneath for one full loop on each side. Being really careful while we pull that wire tight that we don't get any bends in it. That will create a weak spot in your wire. You can see I've started to come around the corner there on the little heart. So just continuing on that same stitch, going from the back around one full loop and then around to the front, one full loop. Spacing the wires out as you go, making sure that that little heart and circle are staying in place. As you get around the bottom, you can start to remove some of your tape and just work right around the bottom and then up the other side all the way to the top near the bail. Once you've come around your whole crystal and your wire stitches are sort of finishing up near the top, near the bail, you can come around your last loop around either the front or the back. And then we can take the wire up and go around the bail. Try and make sure it's coming up as close as it can to the bail, just underneath one of those wires there. So I'm doing that last full loop around that circle wire at the back there. Making sure it's all pulled nice and tight, and now wrapping it around the bail a couple of times. Then we're just going to loop it around the circle shaped wire on the back a couple of times just to lock it all in place. Once you've brought it around a couple of times, you can cut that little tail off and crimp it in. Now you can take some time with your pliers, just going over your whole wire wrap, making sure it's all sitting nicely and how you like it, that it's all even. So there's your heart on heart crystal wire wrap. As promised, here's the measurements for the 25mm and 40mm crystal heart.